So today is a info session, and I'm using it just to introduce one program that we offer at WeCloudData. We're looking for insecure overachievers. I always like this term. If you are thinking about, some of you may be serious about this intention, you want to become a BI analyst, BI consultant, BI developer, and BI engineer. And then today's info session is about, how to get there. And you may have some questions about different titles, and I will explain a little after. And also the difference between DA and BI, data analyst and BI analyst. So let me skip this. So I am one of the co-founders, and I used to work in corporations, and then I quit my job about 5 years ago. I joined WeCloudData to pursue my passion, which is to help young people like yourself to build a career in data analytics and business intelligence. WeCloudData, we specialize in data. So we provide training. We also provide opportunities to work on real-time projects. And plus, we also provide career services to help you land a job in the data space and then build a career in data space. And we offer multiple programs. So business intelligence is the one we will talk about, and data science as well, and data engineering and machine learning engineering and DevOps. So all these programs have something to do with data, but have different focus. If I have time, I can briefly explain the difference among them. But they all share the same foundation. And we'll talk about that a little after. And some of the rating website give us very high rating. So you can see some of these. Our data science program has been consistently rated the best program in North America, and analytics as well. So there's imposter syndrome whenever you need to switch to a different area. So if you look at a very typical writing book, and that you would love to have in order to land a job in this space. Usually people say, I know this kind of experience can get me an interview, but I really want to write these bullets on my resume. The problem is I have never done it, so I feel like a fraud. This happens to fresh new grads, who just come out of school. This also happens to career switchers. So you feel like you don't have enough confidence to really make that jump. So for instance, if you take a look at this is particularly related to CRM, customer relationship management. And if I narrow it down, we focus on digital marketing. If I narrow it down further, email campaigns. So if you look at these bullet points real quick. So work with marketers and engineers to design and execute email campaigns, generate leads and drive sales, and cover end-to-end process from list generation to campaign execution and performance measurement in 3 phases, and generate a target email list based on business rules. And this is called do not call list. And this is, I believe, Canadian anti-spam legislation regulations. And then segment the email list based on demographic behavior and preference characteristics for personalized content. and then use a random seed to divide the email list into control and test group, and use A/B email creatives, and that includes subject, body, and call to action to determine what strategy works and what strategy doesn't work. And then last one, define KPIs, for instance, open rate, click rate, and conversion rate to measure email campaign performance, improve return on investment, and reduce cost of acquisition. So when you read this, you may feel like, this is a bit foreign. You don't quite get it. You don't quite understand. So that's why I call this imposter syndrome. And this is something we at WeCloudData will help you to overcome. So let me just give you an example. So this is what we call the role-based training. So we use a use case or project to simulate work environment and learn the skills in context, and then produce professional work samples that you can use to understand, the work and the work environment. And at the same time, you can build a project portfolio to showcase the highly employable skills to the employer and as a proof. And you could also, use some of the project to impress them. So you can convince them, you can tip the scale in your favor, so they will make a decision in your favor. So eventually, the ultimate goal is to get interviewed and pass interviews. So if I were to, go back, let me just go back to the beginning of this video. So basically, we set up the database and then we create the schema. So we have an email table, and then we have the campaign table. So we have campaign and subject and primary key. And then we also have the activity table. And so you can see some campaign ID. And then we actually use some sample data, very, very simple example. And then, we insert the sample data into the tables. Remember, 3 tables. And then we started to actually generate the leads. So this step is called list generation, and we run inclusions and exclusions. And then remember, we talk about how to validate email and how to run inclusions, exclusions, and these are the resting rules. And then we do segmentation, and we suit the random seed to separate the population into control and test group. So you can see, we can very quickly use an example to show you what does it mean, right, to run a marketing campaign. And this is just for illustration purpose, and the real project is, of course, more complicated than this. But with this, and we will, build your confidence, and you also learn how to talk about, this work, even though you never experience this in the work environment, but we naturally experience that, in the project experience. And this is something you can still write on the resume to get interviews, and especially if the quality of the work, is professional level and industry grade, and you will be able to convince the hiring manager you have what it takes to succeed, in this role. So this is called a role-based training, and you don't need to learn everything about every tool, and that's not possible, and that's also unnecessary. So we teach you just enough. If you use SQL, we just teach you enough so you can understand, all the SQL queries related to this, CRM, and then the marketing campaign, and then the email campaign, the entire process end to end. So I encourage you to raise your question if you have any. So as we move forward. So technology changed so quickly. That's why expertise actually beats experience, and expertise is more important than experience. What do I mean by expertise rather than experience? So expertise is defined as skills acquired from actually doing it, actual practicing, regardless of the length of time or the number of years. And versus experience is the skill implied over a number of years. And this is a bad measure. The HR use it only when they don't have anything better to recognize somebody's skill level. And the other definition is expertise has to be relevant. Relevant expertise from 3 months of the bootcamp practicing with laser focus can beat 3 years of less relevant or irrelevant experience. So this is something I want you to understand, because many people worry, what if, I don't have this skill and I don't have this experience. If you don't have the skill, we can train you on the skill and you can acquire the skill. And if you don't have the experience, the actual work experience, and then we can, make you work on project, and it's exactly the same experience or similar experience that you can experience within a very short time. So that is enough to acquire the expertise within a shorter time. And I want you to know that there's just so many success stories from our bootcamp and the students coming out of school or the career switchers after the bootcamp, with our mentors' help, they can land a data job with no problem. So you better go to the next slide. So what kind of job? I put it the same row, but many titles. The name of the program is Business Intelligence, but I want you to think in broader terms. I want you to walk away remembering, BA, DA, and BI. So business analysis, data analysis, and business intelligence. So in fact, after you graduate from this program, you can apply for 3 categories of jobs: business analysis, data analysis, and business intelligence. And this is more about, making sure we work on the right problem, understanding the business needs and wants and requirements. And data analysis is about getting data, processing data, and making data usable. Business intelligence take this to a whole new level. So after you use data and to find the trends, patterns, and relationship, and you use reports or dashboards to communicate that insight back to business. So all the work you do will actually have an impact on the business outcome. So some of you, can apply for BA jobs or DA jobs or business intelligence jobs. You may have just one particular title, but the work itself may include all 3. Okay, so if you added analyst, to any function such as marketing, sales, product, operations, finance, risk management, human resources, you probably can find a role that uses data and that uses data analytics, that uses business intelligence. And if you add analysts to any industry, the same thing, you probably will find jobs or roles in that domain, such as CRM, retail, e-commerce, even within public sector, government, and investment banking, supply chain. So make no mistake, this is a very wide scope. You can find jobs in almost any industry and in almost any functional area. And this is the basic needs from any business because they want to have the visibility into the business performance, how we are doing, and what happened, and why it happened, and what should we do about it, right? So to answer the most critical questions at different levels. And once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. So the next slide. Let me explain the difference, among all these titles: BI analyst, consultant, developer, engineer, manager, and director. Analyst and consultant are probably more on the business side. Developer and engineer work more on the technology side. So analyst and consultant, you probably spend more time interacting with the business to understand their reporting needs, what questions you want to get answered, or what problems you're trying to solve, or what decisions are you making, and how can we create value for the business and for the customers, and these kind of things. So you will probably help the business define key performance indicators, and also define different perspectives, different angles, and different dimensions that you use to look at the same measures. So that's analyst and consultant. Versus developer and engineer, they work more on the deployment side. So for instance, if the reporting package or BI becomes a service, it's something you have to deliver, let's say every day before 8:30, right? You need to push a suite of reports to the desktop of the business user on a weekly basis. So if it's something like that, it's just like any IT service. So you will create scheduled job. You will need to run it, and if business users detect any issues, for instance, the data is late, or the data is wrong, or maybe the data is missing. So these kind of issues, you will have to, raise a ticket and follow through until you resolve it. So those are more related to, maintenance and support and deployment, and that's why you have the title developer and engineer. And you notice that this is progressive. So people make more and more as you move through, or move up this ladder. I personally, I think this is a great career. In fact, you can go all the way up to become a BI manager or BI director. And this is usually the go-to person, for any senior leaders, like VPs or senior VPs. They always want to have somebody like you who can create great pieces of communication that they can use to go to their boss, or maybe go to other departments. So if you can produce something that's highly visible, like dashboards using Power BI, and then your work will be able to connect you to the people with power and opportunity. So imagine if you help your boss to become a VP or senior VP, guess what? You will become a manager, a senior manager, a director, right? So that's why I think this is a great career, and it's a fast track, to management. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, this is the bootcamp, and we also have mentorship, and only one tuition, but covers both bootcamp and mentorship after the bootcamp. So the bootcamp lasts 3 months, and we have class Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 10:30. So 3 hours in the evening. We don't have class on Friday, and Friday is the reading day. But we are still open. We have the open office, and sometimes we host guest speech, or we have a Ask Me Anything session. We simply use Friday to answer any questions the students may have. So the lectures are led by the instructor, but the Friday session, and there's also 1 hour before every class. So if the class runs from 7:30 to 10:30, then the TA session runs from 6:30 to 7:30. So in case you have any questions or you have any challenge to get yourself set up before the class, and then you can just go online and the TA will be able to help you. So during the bootcamp, you will learn about 5 data tools, including advanced Excel, SQL, Python, so 2 programming tools, and then 2 visualization tools, Tableau and Power BI. Once again, you will learn 5 data tools: Excel, SQL, Python, Tableau, Power BI. And then you will also learn, you will build 8 industry-grade projects using 5 data tools. And we also host workshop to help you build the portfolio. We also host coding workshop to help you sharpen, your SQL and Python coding skills. So the purpose of the bootcamp is to help you become super competitive. There are 2 outcomes we are trying to achieve. Number 1, we make sure you can pass the employer's coding test. Sometimes the coding test is take home, sometimes it's live coding. But if you attend every coding workshop, you will have very solid, coding skill. And after you finish 8 projects, chances are you will be able to handle most case interviews. So usually the case interview comes with data, and you are given maybe 24 hours or maybe 48 hours to complete the case. And then if the employer are happy with your submission, they will call you to the next round of interview. They will give you an opportunity to present the case. So we grant you, we make you go through this 8 times. So the next time you receive a package from the hiring manager or from the employer, you will have no problem, passing those technical interviews. The mentorship is after the bootcamp, and then we pair you up with experienced industry experts. And many of those mentors were our previous students. So we use this opportunity to help them give back, and we also pay them. We pay them $50 an hour. So they will use their expertise and their connections and resources to help the next generation of students find data jobs. And mentorship includes resume building, job networking, referral, interview scripting and practicing. And the purpose is to help you become more expressive. And if you can explain jobs with confidence, if you can pass the business and behavior interview, and then chances are, you will be able to stand out, from God knows how many people, and you can win that job offer. So put everything together. The price without discount is $7,500, but you always enjoy some discount. And the early bird discount is 15% off. And we are a private college. So if you attend the bootcamp in year 2023, the next year you will receive, is it T22028, right? And you will get 15% rebate, additional 15% rebate, from Revenue Canada. So if you combine early bird discount and also the rebate, so that's 30% off this cost, this price. Okay. The next slide, and this is my favorite slide. Once again, WeCloudData training is case-based and it's role-based. So we teach you just enough to perform the role. How do we define your role? And this is you. This is your role. We define this role within a big picture. So every single use case, comes with the big picture. What is the industry? And what is the company's business? And how competitive is the company in that industry, right? Are you at the bottom or at the top of the vertical? And then within the business, oftentimes you have different functions. Remember, we talk about marketing, sales, and service, and product, operations, HR, technology, accounting, finance, right? So these are different functions. Well, and we also have horizontal process. So oftentimes it takes multiple employees from different departments, and you need to collaborate across functions in order to deliver the product or service to the customers. I always want you to think about input and output, what goes in, what comes out. So for instance, as a data analyst, I think 100% you will need to work with IT, with technology team. So you will need to make friends with a developer, who actually controls the access to the database. And if that person trusts you, and he will give you or provide you with full access to the database. And if that person is helpful, and he will help you understand, and he will give you the data dictionary and the schema, so you understand where is the data, the schema, the database, the tables, the columns, the keys, the relationship, and all that is housed in the technology team. So the technology team is essentially your supplier. They supply you with data. Once you have data and in front of you, I'm pretty sure you have the business users. And you not only serve the employees in the business teams, you also help their managers and directors, VPs, and people higher up. So in terms of the work, you will see a hierarchy, all the way from strategy down to tactics and down to operations. And all these people need data, at different levels to support different decisions. So you can tell, right? You have a supplier, you have the customers, and this is the process, and this is the function, and then the intersection is your role. And this is how you define a role. So you start to understand the work you do, and how other people's work will affect your work, and how your work will affect other people's work, right? The dependencies. And you also understand the relationship. In order to succeed in this role, and you definitely need to have built a good relationship with your customer, with your supplier, maybe with somebody in your team. That could be a mentor, somebody who was already doing your job, right? And so very likely you will need to learn from that person. And you will also need to build a good relationship with your boss, right? So people say it takes 5 people to help you to succeed in this role. So this picture, I think, is very well done to help you understand the work and the work environment and the relationship with other people in different functional areas. Okay, so we simulate your role and how you perform the task in the context of function, process, business, industry, and how you communicate up, down, and across the organization to get the job done. And I don't know if you realize, a lot of times when you read a job description, you have no idea, what the job description is talking about. Oh, that's because you don't understand the context. And our training, once again, is good upon the context. We will give you a lot of context so you understand the project. And you also understand the underlying business and the process and the people and the relationship. Okay. So with that, so this is the business intelligence bootcamp. So for illustration purpose, I only listed, the 5 projects, but we have 8 projects. So at the core, we will teach you 5 data tools. Not 100%. We probably will teach you the 20% essential features so you can perform your job. And then you will apply all these skills, to solve different problems in the context of different projects. And you will understand, the role, within that scenario, in that context. So through this approach, and you will acquire the highly employable skills and also very hands-on industry experience. And the purpose, there's only one and only purpose, is for you to get a BI job that pays 70K to 100K. And I'm not joking. So we have people who just graduate from a bachelor's program and they secure a contract that pays 6-figure, 100,000. And it's sweet, right? So I want to talk very briefly about the process. Remember, we talk about business analysis, data analysis, and then business intelligence. And surprisingly, this data role has a lot to do with business. You realize business analysis, B is business, and business intelligence, there is also business in that process. So you start from business and you end with the business. So first phase, the first stage of this process is business analysis. And you will need to know how to make money in a business and what are the processes and what are the decision points, what kind of decisions people will make at different levels, from strategy down to tactics, down to operations, right? And of course, the goal and objective. Is it to grow leads and sales? Or is it to improve the quality of the product and service? Or is it to reduce costs and improve the efficiency? Right? So you have different kinds of goals and objectives, and you will need to define different KPIs to measure the success. So the second stage is called data analysis, and it involves pre-processing and EDA, exploratory data analysis. Some of you ask, how much statistics you need to learn, and we call those summary statistics. The moment I explain this to you, you would feel comfortable. And by summary statistics, I mean sum, count, distinct, average, minimum, maximum, right? So it's pretty, straightforward. And then data issues and treatment, this is very big. It's related to data governance, and you will get interview questions about data issues, what kind of data issues you have come across, and how do you treat them, right? So this is the opportunity to show the employer how mature you are or how advanced you are in terms of data management. And the typical ETL process, extract, transform, and narrow. So you realize data analysis is the dirty work that you will have to feel very, very comfortable doing. And a lot of times when people say, I only want to learn visualization, but guess what? And if you don't have a good solid foundation in data analysis, you cannot go very far in data visualization. And behind data visualization, you need a very solid foundation in data structure and also logical thinking. And we will come across this entity relationship diagram, ERD, or schema, again and again and again. And you will come across dimension tables versus fact table, primary key versus foreign key, and also the one-to-many relationship from dimension to fact table. So this is dimensional data modeling, and that is the soul of data analysis. And a very good students will become very, very good with this. And in fact, if you have mastered, this concept, and SQL coding becomes pretty easy, right? So this is the exciting part, the highlight of this stage. So what you're seeing right now is the capstone project from the last cohort. So we say, in God we trust, and all other people must bring data. So you will learn dimensions and KPIs and trends and drivers, and how to present conclusions and recommendations, and how to visualize value creation. So eventually, you will use the dashboards to communicate the benefits to the business user at different levels. And the benefits in terms of revenue growth, cost reduction, efficiency gain, and quality improvement. So all of these, what you see looks very cool, very fancy. But let me tell you, the impact of this work is very, very profound. And the moment you present the hiring manager with this kind of quality, I think you will be able to convince them that you will succeed in this world. Questions? If not, I don't know if you can see this. We encourage people to do a one-page resume, but we also teach our students to always prepare the second page to showcase, some of the work you did. But not only this, we also include a portfolio website. So when people, even though they look at the second page, maybe just 5 seconds, they will feel very confident, about this candidate, and they want to meet you in person to discuss your qualifications. And that is the purpose of the resume. So I want to tell you that if you don't have this, if you don't have a portfolio, if you don't have the work sample, if you only have a resume, it's pretty weak. So you're in a very weak position to get interviews. So the purpose is very clear, why we help you build a portfolio is to get you interviews, because the portfolio is proof, is the evidence, and is a reliable indicator that you will succeed in this world. Okay, so we don't just tell, we show people. We make a statement and we support it, we back it up with evidence. Okay, we feel very, very proud of our mentorship support network. It's my job to grow the community. So we have the successful students, they come back and they become mentors and help the new generation of students. We also developed the app. So mentor and mentee, they can work together and they can manage the two people mentorship really, really well. And there's one particular step, it's the technical screening test. The bad news is nowadays, any data job, data analyst or BI analyst job attracts hundreds of resumes. So the first step of the selection process is always a technical test. Almost every company does that to screen so many resumes, and there's no way around it. So this is the bad news. What's the good news? A survey of the hiring managers shows that only 1 out of 10 candidates respond to the technical test, and the rest of them either don't have the courage to take the challenge, or if they take the challenge, but they cannot pass it, right? So if you are trained by WeCloudData, and you will definitely take the test, you will rate the test and pass it. By doing that, and by doing that alone, you effectively reduce the competition by 90%. So I want you to remember this. If you are good, with coding, and if you're good with case interview, and you can immediately reduce your competition by 90%, and that's how you stand out. Even more good news, WeCloudData, we curate a real technical test from employer. And over the time, we have accumulated, we have gathered so many test cases. It is good to take the test to expose your weak list. So we, use those to train you. And our coding interview workshop helps you practice with focus and stay sharp and go to employers' technical test at a moment's notice. Okay, so I usually get these questions, and I understand some of you may have the same or similar questions. First, is data the same as IT? And the answer is no. Data is not IT, and you're not becoming a developer or programmer. And there is a clear difference between application programming and data programming. So a developer or programmer, they code an application, okay? But a data analyst or BI analyst, you code to process data, to extract insight from data, and it's very different purpose. So I want you to understand data is not IT. Number two, what do I do all day just running queries and make reports? If we go back 15 years, that was probably true, but nowadays it becomes, the bar is raised. It's more than just running queries, and it's going from BA to DA to BI. So you will need to go to business team a lot to really understand their needs and requirements. And then you will need to know where to find the data, not just running query as a one-time exercise to answer some random questions, but to build an ongoing, regular, dynamic, interactive BI dashboard as a service. So the business users are able to interact with the dashboards and answer many of those questions by themselves. And this involves automation. This also involves the delivery and maintenance. So once again, it's more than just making report. It's about providing BI as a service to help the business run the shop, right? So for that reason, the job sounds a lot more interesting. It's not just running query and making reports on a daily basis. Number three, do I have an advantage in data analytics with a STEM background? STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. I don't think so. So if you measured science and engineering, you may think you're better at coding, but oftentimes, people come to the bootcamp with different strengths and weaknesses. Nobody's perfect. Those engineering or science majors, they may be able to code better, or maybe they can learn this faster. But oftentimes they do things without a sense of purpose, and they don't have the big picture. And once they finish their work and they feel hard to communicate, the value of the work back to the business. So if you come from a different background, for instance, if you come from a FAQs background, finance, accounting, business, and economics, and don't feel that you're at a disadvantage, is not true. Remember, this role is actually to serve the business. Data is to serve the business. We start with business analysis and we end with business intelligence. And it's driven by business. So if you come from the FAQs background, you'll naturally understand the business better than a technical major. So for that reason, I have seen people coming from different backgrounds, they all succeed, and if they know how to play their strengths, if they know how to overcome their weaknesses, and they become very versatile, right? So this role is essentially a hybrid role, and you would need to play up your strengths and overcome your weakness. All right. I like to touch upon the 3 states of going nowhere. 3 states. Number 1 is learning without a focus. This is actually quite frustrating. Some of you may think, why do I need a bootcamp? There's so many resources on the internet, and some of those are free or very, very cheap. I want to warn you, I want to caution you, picking the right resources to learn is almost as important as picking your friend. And we all know that if we pick the wrong friend, it will take us a long time to recover, and sometimes we don't recover, okay? So learning, what to learn and what not to learn are equally important. And with WeCloudData, we design a learning path. So you only need to learn the essentials to perform a role that is the most effective, and you understand from day one that you don't need to learn everything. And you also have a clear purpose. Everything you learn is trying to help you solve a problem, right? So very quickly, we can finish this cycle and go to the next one. So people also feel stuck when they don't get interviews, right? So they apply for a lot of jobs, but it's like, shouting into a black hole and then never hear back from the jobs they applied for. And that's very, very frustrating. So for us, we'll provide you with the career service to unblock you. And we help you build a portfolio to really get noticed by the employer. And so all in all, our students and our mentees, they get more interviews. And plus, it's not just you applying on your own. We also provide the referral opportunities. And some of our past successful students, they already built a career and they are in the hiring position. And they love to hire from WeCloudData, and they know the quality of our students. Even though you're not hiring, if you're on the hiring team, you could also refer our students into those jobs. So with that, we can fast track the resumes in the hands of the hiring manager. And the third one is, of course, you get interviews, but you just can't pass the last round or the second last round, or you can't pass the technical round. And once again, the Bootcamp is designed to help you pass the technical interview, and the mentorship is designed to help you pass the business and behavior interviews. So the whole thing is to support, not just to learn for the sake of learning, is to help you find a job and build a career. Okay, any questions so far? Any question from the audience? So now we have seven people, including myself. Well, just feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask me anything. I take that as a no. So I'm going to go through some of the sample question and answer. So for instance, what do you do as a data? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Eric.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Sorry. Good evening or good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm in Nigeria currently, and it's past 2. So I was in the last training, so I don't know if this is like a continuation or something different entirely. But I got the notification on my Discord.
Sorry, it's very hard to understand you. Can you repeat your question?
I said I was in the training for the fundamentals, data fundamentals.
Oh, the data fundamental?
Do you get that?
Right.
Yes, so I got the notification on my Discord now. I wasn't able to sleep, so I checked it out. So
are you asking the relationship between data fundamental?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and this.
I got it. Okay. So that's a good question. So in fact, the BI Bootcamp is more complex and harder than the data fundamental. So let me tell you the backstory. So in the past, we have changed the curriculum of the BI Bootcamp so many times to help the students overcome the learning curve. And we realized that we'll start with the data tools, and if we can't do a good job, teaching the students foundational skills like SQL and Python and even Excel, then they cannot move on to work on the project. And that's what happened in the past, because some students joined the BI Bootcamp with zero experience in SQL, but some people already have some experience, right? And then we always have students who will slow down the entire class when you learn the data tools. And then the instructor of the data tools cannot finish. And when we move toward the use cases, the project, and then some students will ask questions about the tool again. So the instructor of the project have to stop and teach the students about the tool again. So to overcome that, we created the pre-bootcamp training. So it's called pre-camp training. So the data fundamental is essentially our pre-camp material. In the past, we have TA and also myself included. Every student who registered the program, and we immediately start the pre-camp training. So if you feel weak with SQL, and then we will train you on SQL, we want to make sure when the bootcamp starts, you're not zero on SQL. Do you understand what I mean? So the data fundamental is essentially the pre-camp material. And this is not bootcamp. This is not BI Bootcamp. This is to prepare you for the BI Bootcamp. This is to help you overcome the learning curve. So when the bootcamp starts, you feel more comfortable, and you will not fall behind, and you will stay the course. So if you do a good job in learning the data tools, and then you will also, benefit from the projects. We have 8 projects, and we want to finish every single project on time. So if you're short, if you don't have good foundational skill, and you probably will catch up with project number 1, and then project number 2 comes, and then so you will have a lot of that. I don't know if I answered the question. So data fundamental is the equivalent of pre-camp training. Yes? Good. Any other questions? Okay, so if not, so these are just several questions so you understand better. What do you do as a data analyst? So here, I collect data, I visualize it. I look at 10 most frequent values for each column. I study outliers and check missing values and look for correlations. I build a data pipeline on cloud. If data is too big, when I'm stuck, I get help from internet. Nowadays, you can get help from ChatGPT maybe, or mentor, or my fellow students. Then I read up my findings in simple language with clean code and compelling visual. So this is considered really good, very good answer. So we train our students to not only do the work, but to talk about the work, the good work. So this is just one example. And the second example is, what do you do when everything is a priority? Okay, let me just go back. At first, I gave my manager a static report, and he asked me, what about this? What about that? Then I spent all day producing different reports to answer different questions. I'm like, wait a minute. All these reports are aggregated measures grouped by dimensions at different levels. So if you came to my data fundamental class, you probably remember I emphasize dimensions and measures a lot, right? So almost every single report is aggregated measures grouped by dimensions at different levels. So instead of giving them many reports, I gave them a dynamic self-serve BI dashboard. As long as it is simple, intuitive, and straightforward, he's happy to use it. It answers most of his questions, and also free up my time for other project initiatives. And once again, I consider this a really good story to talk about your work. You not only know how to answer the ad hoc question, but also knows how to improve the process to become proactive, managing your manager, your supervisor. A lot of times people are asked to do more with less, to do more in less time. And this is the only way. So automation is one, and prioritization is another one. So all of these require you to have the skills, hard skills and soft skills. Okay, speaking of digital transformation, and in the old days, I think we were used to, the business are expanding, they open more stores and offices and branches on both sides of the street, right? And they meet the customers, and they serve the customer, and they deliver the product and service, in the branches. But those days are gone. Nowadays, I think people are more used to, you place an order online, and then you expect the merchandise to be shipped and delivered at your doorstep, right? So we can use one word to describe digital transformation, and that is flip. If the traditional business model is 80% offline and 20% online, then the digital business model is 80% online and 20% offline, okay? So it is this, it's e-commerce versus retail. And if that is the case, you can see that the companies require you to have different skills. And it's interesting to see the same company letting people go, and they're also hiring, but they're hiring people with different skill set. So if the organization is going through digital transformation, we, at the individual level, we also need to go through digital transformation. We need to reinvent ourselves to stay in the game, you know. And this is a quote from Madonna. And at the individual level, we always need to be mindful, you know, what is changing. So once again, we are growing this network, and our past students, and they work in many different organizations in Canada, US, and elsewhere. And by growing the community and growing the network, and we are helping our new generation of students to build a career in data space. So this is the end of my presentation. So once again, I encourage you to ask me any questions. Do you have any questions? Let me do a quick time check. It's 9:24. Feel free to ask me any questions. If not, let me just show you one thing real quick. Let me just bring up our so WeCloudData, we operate on Slack. I'd like to show you this workspace. So this is called WCD Career Services. If you see these AMS, this is alumni mentorship support. And every single channel is a private channel. And then we have the mentor's first name and last name initial. And then we use that. So this is long ago. This person has already found a job. So a lot of times, let me just show you a more recent one, maybe one that I was involved as a mentor. Maybe Ruby, you know. So I go all the way to the top. I'm also mentoring. So you can see we started about a month ago, right? And then I said, in the first session, I will work with the create a plan, and below is sample plan with milestones and tasks, and the end goal, and then a data job. All right, so then, and this is the current resume. So I think we were working on the resume. So we started to, Ruby, you have worked with CRM software. So I asked Salesforce, do you feel comfortable adding text such as the following under experience? So I was suggesting some sample text to be added to her resume, and this is the feedback. So we start to work on the resume. And okay, so there's one version, and this is the PDF, this is the Word. And so I provided some of my feedback. You see, it's serious. Now we use this template to prepare for the interviews of 1-2 pages. And we are actually using the Python OpenAI API to craft the resume. Maybe I should show you this. Just give me a second. Once again, we are talking about one particular screening interview, and I was giving her another project to do. This is HR analytics. Okay, so we actually just had a meeting today to go through the screening questions and the answers. So let me do this. we have some time. I didn't teach Python. I knew Shawel taught data fundamental Python module, but I want to show you something. Just give me a second to bring up Anaconda. Here we go. Okay, so question from Jason. As someone who is having a career change, you explained some good aspects of entering the data field. Are there any cons working in this industry? Once again, that's a good question too. I cannot say it's all good. There's definitely the downside of it. Going from a different domain into data space, one downside is probably you will need to keep up, with the changes in technology and also the changes in the requirements. I will give you one example. I once worked with somebody who were highly specialized in ERP, so enterprise resource planning, and so it's Oracle. So in that space, he actually made very good money. So he was making like close to six-figure, 100,000. But he realized that it's very, very specialized, and then there is a risk that he's losing the job, but he will not be able to find any employment if he loses the current job. And that's the reason why he approached me. He wanted to have a plan B. Okay. So in his case, he could just stay where he was and do nothing. But I think the risk is too big. In the past, I have seen people, I stay in the banking industry for a long time. So there's also IT in banking, but the IT is very, very old. The infrastructure, everything is very old in the banking industry. And all the banks are still using AS400. That's mainframe, that's IBM technology from 1980s, and it's still there. So even though people are technical, but if for some reason they lose that job and then go back to the street, they will not be able to find employment outside of the bank. So that's very, very risky. So in my opinion, Jason, consider yourself a tiny dot, right? So we can find ourselves in a line, and a line exists in a surface, and the surface is in like a 3D solid column, right? So I want you to consider, the whole thing, the industry, it is rising or it is sinking. So if the whole industry is sinking, doesn't matter how hard you try. I think you're sinking with it, right? So we have students who went to University of Windsor and they study electronics, mechanics, everything related to automobile, to car industry. But it is not electric car, it's the traditional, oil car, right? And they know that the industry is sinking and is disappearing. So that's the reason they jump boats. So there's always a risk if you go into an unknown space. But I want you to take a different perspective. And it's not about throwing everything you had in the past out the window and start from scratch, start from zero. No, it's never like that. And it's always about combining the old with the new, right? And how to make sense of your education and your past experience to the new employer in the new space. There's always a downside, but I think if the entire industry is rising, I think you're making the right decisions. Take myself, for example, I'm 56 years old. In my 30 years of career, I have changed so many times. I was trained as an engineer. I studied EE, electrical and electronic engineering. And I work as a technician and then engineer for Siemens. And then, by accident, I got myself into banking. And I did commercial banking, I did retail banking. And then I moved into predictive modeling. And now it is called machine learning, right? When I moved to Canada. And I worked in the retail banking space, but my job was developing, machine learning models. That's how I learned to work with data. And then I moved into project management. I manage IT projects. And, I have changed so many times. And every single time I changed name, I found myself going faster, right? I was not limited, by my past experience. So there's another question. Is there any way someone could get remote internship? This is an interesting question. So where are you? Are you in Canada? Or maybe different provinces? Or maybe you're from different country? Or Nigeria? We actually have multiple friends from Nigeria. So WeCloudData actually has two subsidiaries, and the WeCareer is responsible for mentorship, aka career services. And we also operate Beam Data. It's actually, let me just type this. It's called beamdata.ai. So the other one is WeCareer.ai. And we also have WeCloudData.com, right? So these three companies are the same company. BeamData.ai and Wicker.ai are owned by WeCloudData, 100%. But Beam Data, we do real-time project for the real clients. This is the vision of Shawa, our CEO. Shawa believes low-cost consulting is actually providing a lot of value to the industry. And it's almost impossible for the clients to say no. Because when we started, we didn't charge the clients at all. But we give our students the opportunity to work on the real project for the real client. So that way they can have the real client project experience on the resume, and it will help them get interviews. But after so many years, we started to charge the clients, and we charge them just enough to offset the cost. We do have full-time project managers and the full-time technical need to make sure, because our students will come and go, right? They stay 3 months on the project and they find employment they need. And then another batch of students come to this project team and they're working for the same client. So our full-time project manager and technical need will need to make sure there's no or minimum interruption to the project. But our students benefit a lot from the real-time project. But some of the projects are done online, right? So for instance, the the Global Mail is a Canadian media company. Used to be newspaper, and now it's all digital. And we have 2 projects. It's always ongoing. And we have students from Calgary. It's West Coast. It's in different provinces. It's in Alberta. And our client is in Ontario. And there's no problem, we can work remotely, and we can provide you with that opportunity. All right, so let me just show you this. This is very interesting. So starting this cohort in BI Bootcamp, we start teaching students prompt engineering, how to use API endpoint to solve problems. So this is a great use case. Just give me a second to bring up. Come on. All right, so I have Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so this is the one I want to show you. I tested this with the students. Let me just restart and clear output. Okay, so I think if you have taken the Python courses from Showa, you've learned prompt engineering. And now we are going to use prompt engineering to communicate with OpenAI. And we use this to prepare for interview based on the job description. It's interesting, isn't it? So prompt engineering, 2 things are important. Okay, we have, we have 2 principles. First, write clear and specific instruction. And number 2, give the model time to think. And there are some techniques you can use. For instance, you can use delimiters to indicate distinct parts of the input. So there's no ambiguity, no confusion. You can ask for a structured output. So for instance, if you ask the AI to provide a mock interview, so you can say the mock interview should be created in the sequence of hiring manager asks a question and the candidate answer it with a story, question, story, question, story. And then ask the model to check whether conditions are satisfied. And we also use few shot prompting. So provide examples of successful execution before asking model to do the task. So basically, it's not just telling the model or telling AI what to do, but also give AI an example and give model time to think. You can specify steps required to complete a task and ask for output in a specified format. You can instruct the model to work out its own solution before rushing to a conclusion. Okay, so this is the setup. So I run this very quickly. So we import the OS, so that's operating system. So this is just one library. And also we import OpenAI. And if you run this the first time, you will need to exclamation mark pip install OpenAI, right? I have already set up my environment variable. And so I have hidden my API key inside a environment variable. Then I can create a function. So this is a function get completion. So remember, it's always about question and answer or prompt and completion, right? So if you look at the messages and the format, so the row is user and the content will be the prompt, right? And the prompt is the input. And the response will be OpenAI dot chat completion. So this is a function, and then you can create. So inside this bracket, the current bracket, you have the model. So this is the GPT 3.5 turbo, and you can use GPT-4. It's more powerful, but it's going to cost you more. And the message is equal to messages, and temperature is 0. So temperature stands for the degree of randomness. And if it's 0, and then it's very unique. And if it's close to 1, then you allow the model to be created, right? And then you return the response, and then the first instance of the choice, and then you want to extract the content from the message. So let's run this. Okay, so now, if you go to the job board and you can copy paste a job description. So this is a job description for manager operations architecture at RBC. What is the opportunity? What will you do, right? And what you need to succeed, and must have and nice to have. This is very typical job description. We just copy paste, with the title, the company, and also the responsibility, and also qualifications. So let's run this. Now over here, we create the prompt. The prompt is summarize the job description, then limited by the triple brackets. So this is the job description over here, right? And you see that I put the 3 brackets here, 3 brackets here, and then anything within the current bracket is the job description. So this is a variable. It's going to take the whole job description and put it in here. And then we ask the AI to format the summary into an ordered list of 10 sentences or less. So it's ordered list. So you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 10, right? Or maybe less than 10. So we'll see. Let's run this. So give the model time to think. And this is still real quick. So let's look at the summary. So RBC Canadian Banking Operations seeking a manager, operations architecture. Okay, the role involves architecting the future of operations and designing key operations products. And the manager will collaborate with. This is the term. If you don't understand, you can look it up. So LOB stands for line of business, and technological partners in mega journeys. And if you don't usually see mega journeys, what is it? Maybe it has specific meaning. It has meaning specific to RBC. I'm not sure, but you could always find out. And they will work alongside operations architecture leaders to challenge the status quo and drive forward the design of operations product. The manager will take the OPH product. So once again, what's OPH? And if you don't know, you can just look it up, right? Google it to the next level and support the product strategy and roadmap. And they will use business domain knowledge to design solutions that can be reused across business lines. And effective communication and visualization skills are required to articulate design concepts and recommendations. The candidate must be available to work on site. So it's 3 days minimum, and maybe 2 days from home, remotely. 2+ years of banking experience is required, along with strong interpersonal and communication skills. And previous architecture and design experience, as well as knowledge of technology and processing banking, are nice to have. You see, very quickly, you'll have a summary. And these are the things, and remember, we need to do some research about it. So I put them all into blurbs. Now, these are the results, from, if you see, What do I know about your company and this job? Zoom in. So company is RBC, division is Canadian banking, and team is operations transformation architecture, right? So this is the same idea we learned today. Vertical functions, front office, for instance, marketing, sales, and service. This is front office, it's customer facing. Middle office, lines of business, product control, risk management, back office, finance, and technology. And horizontal process is end-to-end, front to back, back to front. For instance, hierarchy of work, strategy, long-term business direction provided by high-level executives, tactics, decisions made by middle-level managers with short-term to mid-term consequences. Operations, day-to-day tasks performed by employees. And operations is matrix of vertical functions and horizontal process. I think this becomes clear to you now. Operations products could be reusable data, code, applications, tools, and the workflows. And roadmap, it's mega journey from current state, is the as-is status quo to future and to be. Digital transformation from traditional, this is also something we talk about. 20% online, 80% offline, to digital, 80% online, 20% offline. Flipped. Okay, so I'm not going through all of them, but these are the research we did. So if we run those, and then there's something very, very interesting. So we want to use OpenAI to generate a mock interview. So this is the prompt. I ask OpenAI to design a mock interview based on 7 most common questions. I think you hear this question a lot, right? Why do you think you're qualified for this role? What do you know about operations architecture and this role? Why do you want to leave your current role? What do you like and dislike your work and the work environment? Any opportunities for process improvement? And your strengths, accomplishments, successes, your weaknesses, mistakes, or failures? This is a very, very common question. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? And what question do you have for me? Okay. All right, but I want AI to create answers incorporating the verbs delimited by the triple brackets. It's the same format. And format the mock interview as a transfer of questions and answers in this format. Interviewer, question, candidate, answer, interviewer, question, and candidate, answer, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now let's try to run this. And once again, the model needs some time to think. I think you will like it. Okay, let's go through this real quick. Interviewer, why do you think you're qualified for this role? I believe I'm qualified for this role because I have a strong understanding of operations architecture and the challenges it faces. I have a deep knowledge of vertical functions within a banking organization, including front office, middle office, and back office. I also understand the importance of horizontal process and how they impact the overall operations of a company. Additionally, I have the experience in business analysis and process mapping, which are crucial skills for this role. Overall, I have the necessary domain knowledge and expertise to contribute to the success of the operations architecture team. What do you know about operations architecture and this role? Operations architecture is the matrix of vertical operations and horizontal processes within a company. It involves designing and optimizing the operations products, which include reusable data, code, apps, tools, and workflows. The goal of operations architecture is to transform the current state of operations to a future state that is more efficient, effective, and digitally driven. This role specifically focuses on driving digital transformation and process improvement within the operations of a banking organization. It requires a deep understanding of the business domain, strong analytical skills, and the ability to collaborate with various stakeholders to implement change. Why do you want to leave your current role? I'm looking to leave my current role because I believe this opportunity aligns more closely with my skills and interests. While I have gained valuable experience in my current role, I am eager to work in a role that allows me to focus on operations architecture and digital transformation. I am excited about the potential to make a significant impact on the operations of the banking organization and drive positive change. I believe this role will provide me with the opportunity to further develop my skill and contribute to the success of the team. It's pretty good, eh? Okay, interviewer, what do you dislike about your work environment and any opportunities for process improvement? And people say, don't you ever say anything negative or bad about your current work environment. Let's see how the candidate handle it. So one thing I really enjoy about my work is the opportunity to collaborate with a diverse group of individuals and teams. I appreciate the different perspectives and ideas that come from working with people from various backgrounds. Additionally, I find satisfaction in solving complex problems and finding innovative solutions. However, one aspect of my current work environment that I find challenging is the presence of organizational, technological, and data silos. These silos can hinder communication collaboration, leading to inefficiencies and frustrations. I believe there is an opportunity for process improvement by breaking down these silos and implementing more streamlined and integrated processes. By doing so, we can improve overall efficiency and create a more cohesive work environment. I think this is a very good answer. Can you tell me about your strengths, accomplishments, and successes? One of my strengths is my ability to analyze complex problems and develop effective solutions. I have a strong track record of identifying areas for improvement and implementing changes that drive positive results. In my previous role, I led a project to streamline the mending process, which resulted in a significant reduction in processing time and improved customer satisfaction. I also have a strong attention to detail and a commitment to delivering high-quality work. Overall, I take pride in my ability to drive positive change and achieve tangible results. Now, having talked about the strengths, let's talk about the weaknesses, mistakes, and failures. One area where I have identified as a weakness is delegation. I tend to take on too much responsibility and have difficulty trusting others to complete tasks. This has led to instances where I have become overwhelmed and struggle to meet deadlines. However, I'm actively working on it. So this is a good way to contain the weakness, working on improving my delegation skill and learning to trust others to take on tasks. I believe that by doing so, I can become a more effective and efficient team member. Additionally, I have made mistakes in the past, but I view them as learning opportunities and have used them to grow and improve. Okay, last question. This is the highlight of the interview. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? What question do you have for me? In 5 to 10 years, I see myself in a leadership role within the operations architecture. So you're saying you will be loyal to this team. You know, you're going to stay in this team for a long time. 5 to 10 years. I'm passionate about driving digital transformation, process improvement, and I believe that with continued growth and development, I can make a significant impact in this area. I'm committed to ongoing learning and staying up to date with industry trends and best practices. As for my question for you, I would like to know more about the specific goals and objectives of the operations architecture team and how this will contribute to those goals. What do you think, guys? It's not too bad, eh? So these are the things we will teach our students to not only learn how to use Python to solve problems and to get ideas. So in this case, OpenAI API becomes your friend. So you start to generate some ideas that you can use. I'm not saying you should just use this as is, but this gives you something to work with, a starting point. But once you put in your own stories and emotions, and it becomes more, relevant to the hiring manager. Okay, 2 minutes to go. So I hope we enjoy the session. You know more about our business intelligence program. So please stay in touch with me, and our program manager, our program advisors will get in touch with you to schedule maybe a chat about your intention and how our program will help you transition into this amazing space where you can find lots of good opportunities to build a career. Any more questions? If not, I'm going to call this a day. And once again, stay connected, and we will see each other probably once again.